is Nathan Baer, and I am hosting Cinema Chaos's first presentation of Artists in Depth. Here with me today is Miss Alivia Tagliaferri, author of Still the Monkey, What Happens to Warriors After War. Hello, Miss Tagliaferri, how are you doing?
Good, thank you, Nathan.
This is your first book, I believe.
Yes.
So is it hard, just coming up with finding ideas for a first book? I mean, what was it like to be a first-time author?
Very rewarding experience. I was part of a production crew working for the USO in the summer of 2003. And we were sent to Walter Reed Medical Center to videotape celebrities boosting morale of the war wounded. And it was my first experience seeing casualties of war and having a context for what IED and shrapnel wounds look like. So it impacted me deeply. It was, I would say now, it was a life-changing experience in terms of just completely having a different perception, a different outlook of things. And a few months later, I met a Vietnam veteran who started sharing with me his experiences. And that became the inspiration and the basis for writing this book.
Now, your book details with three parts of PTSD, the body bag syndrome, the home concept, and the phantom pain. Mm-hmm. Now, could you explain those a little more in depth?
That's not a clinical term that I know of. It was actually a term the Vietnam veteran that I had interviewed had brought to light for me, and it was something that had impacted me because it spoke volumes. And basically, the theory is, again, not a clinical theory, that you're around so much death and destruction on a daily basis. It's an accumulation effect, day after day, week after week, month after month, that when a comrade or somebody is wounded or killed, you body bag them and you emotionally turn off your emotions throughout that process. And that actually carries over for this character of Dennis Michaels when he returns home. He's able to body bag people living and dead, meaning he's able to emotionally detach. He has numbed himself to the pain. He has numbed himself from feeling any emotion that he probably would have felt prior to his combat experience. And he refers to that throughout the book as the body bag syndrome.
The concept of the home.
Mm-hmm. The concept of home and the sub-themes and the threads that it plays out throughout the book is, there's an interesting chapter called Master of the House. And the house, the home, is the mind. It's the seat of who we are, how we identify ourselves, how we act, how we perceive things. And it parallels to the concept of returning home. And a lot of times, throughout this book, the characters are not comfortable in their own skin, are not comfortable in their own mind, and they're not comfortable in their own homes. And it's not because their home life has changed, it's because they've changed. And they feel like a stranger, a foreigner, in a way that they don't understand themselves. And so that's a theme that plays throughout this book, is the notion of home, both emotionally, spiritually, as well as physically.
Now, the most psychologically terrifying part of this book, in my opinion, was one, it got into a little bit of depth of the phantom pain.
Well, the character of Andrew Taylor is the character of the Iraq War veteran who was wounded by an IED explosion and is undergoing
IED, that's
improvised explosive device. And he's being treated at Walter Reed Medical Center for amputation of both of his legs, and he's going through the frustrating process of the shrapnel still working its way out of Vex's skin, which basically delays the process of being fit for prosthetics. And for him, that's his monkey. His mind is constantly looking forward toward that day when he can walk again, when he can resume his life. So the concept of phantom pain for amputees, it's the sensation that your body parts are still there, even though they're really not. And I parallel that to the fact of veterans experiencing post-traumatic stress. You still have the sensation that your emotions are there, but sometimes they're really not. So there's a parallel and there's an intersection between this warrior of old, the Vietnam veteran of Dennis, who's been grappling with the emotional loss for 40 years, who now is mentoring a patient, an Iraq War veteran, who's grappling with physical loss. And so they understand each other in terms of they both have phantom pain.
Okay. Now, I know our guests have some questions, but I'd like to ask, this is the biggest one for me.
Okay.
I know in the book it's explained a little bit, but I think our viewers would like to know, for those who haven't read the book, what does the term "still the monkey" refer to?
There's actually several meanings behind it. Still the monkey came to me while I was reading some Eastern philosophy about the mind being like a monkey, and that if it's not kept very still, it swings from branch to branch. If it swings too far to the branch of the past or too far to the branch of the future, it's never actually in the present moment. And what I found through my research and through my interviews are that veterans and those, even civilians who struggle with PTSD, their minds are always going back to who they were before the traumatic event, or going forward to when am I going to feel normal again? When are things going to be okay again? It's never still. It's never in that present moment.
Okay. Well, now I think we go to questions.
Recently I saw a documentary on post-traumatic stress disorder from the people coming back from Iraq, and it was very moving, so I was just wondering, why'd you come across that subject?
I had never seen casualties of war, and I really didn't have a context for what IED or shrapnel wounds looked like. So that became the first inspiration for me to write this book. And several months later, I was in another meeting and I met a Vietnam veteran who began sharing his experiences with me.
I was wondering, how long did it take you to write this book?
It took me 3 years to write the book. It actually started off as a script. I was writing a screenplay and decided to bring it into more of a modern day context.
What was the most disturbing thing you found out about PTSD?
PTSD in and of itself is not disturbing per se. It's a normal person's reaction to abnormal events. For me, writing about it, it was very difficult. There were 2 chapters that specifically were very gut-wrenching, very emotionally challenging topics and subjects and chapters to write about. And when you put yourself in these characters' positions, you're trying to visualize what the scene looks like before you write it, experiencing nightmares to the point where 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning I would wake up, and it was at that time and those points in the night that I would actually be able to get the writing out. And I have to say there was almost a catharsis for me once that I got the images and the scenes out of my head and onto the paper, that I was able to be able to sleep a little bit better at night.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
And thank you for watching Cinema Chaos's presentation of Artists in Depth. I'm Nathan Baer. See you later.
All right. Thank you for watching Cinema Chaos.